Stefan, could you tell us about your health journey? How did you discover carnivore?
Well, that's a long journey. For me, it wasn't really a health journey, to be honest. I was more on a path of thinking I'm aging and looking at what I can change after having had a professional sports career and then stopping and just gaining weight over time and not feeling well. Um, and I did many different things, right? So I was always active in sports and kept being active in sports. However, whatever I ate, I just gained weight. And then I had a lot of crash courses on restricting calories, so the same pitfalls that a lot of people do, and eating different stuff, going vegan, not going vegan, do this, do that. And everything brought a bit of success for a short period of time. Whilst at one point, as soon as you turn back to um, a standard diet or tried to eat in moderation, things just rebounced. And then in 2024, basically, I was at my peak weight, I would say. I was miserable after moving back to Europe, eating a lot of stuff, trying to educate myself a bit more on what's going on the health journey, and just stumbled over a podcast that where Jordan B. Peterson shared, I think it was with Joe Rogan, that he has reversed a lot of autoimmune disease with moving to a steak only diet, steak and salt at that point. So I wasn't even aware what carnivore is at that point. And a month prior to that, I actually decided myself to not drink any alcohol any longer. So things turned out to be really good for me. And trying to also help other people with the journey. I wanted to prove myself it's working, and this is how I got hooked on cold turkey overnight, changing for a SAD side diet into straight, strict, 1000% carnivore, and that is very roughly the journey I'm on. So it hasn't come from a health perspective; it has more come of a trial and error perspective, and ever since. I'm the most loud advocate you can hear about this because it has only done me good in so many ways.
That's awesome. So, you mentioned trying all these different diets. You tried vegan for a while and that didn't work out. And could you talk us through going from like the sad diet to carnivore? What changes in yourself did you notice?
Well, moving from a standard diet into carnivore, I took a very blunt decision, to be honest. I said, like, I'm going to try this for 30 days, and it was like in a moment. So I read about it, I heard about it, I took a decision. I told my wife I'm going to try this, and then just from one dinner to the next morning, I became a full-fledged carnivore, and which I mostly today wouldn't recommend anyone to do unless you have a very strong mindset and you are prepared to deal with the gut issues or related topics that come along after a couple of days or weeks with that doing, because I think you need to be super strong from a mind perspective, because the hardest part, to be honest, wasn't just eating meat, because that I really enjoyed from the very first second. And I think the toughest part is to deal with the cravings you get from cutting out the carbs. When your gut starts to communicate with your brain and tells you you need to eat, and to just stay strong to that one and don't follow the flex to just put something in your mouth, right? Um, but with the carnivore, I mean, I took a decision also at the beginning, to be frank and honest, to start with having dairy included. So I had a bit of yogurt and butter, and I just fought those cravings off with constantly eating raw butter. So that gives you a quite high level of satiation, and the cravings disappear within seconds when you eat butter, and is still one of my go-tos uh, today. I just had a piece of butter before. I'm the last 6 7 weeks now on quite restrictive lion diet for my own sake, and I haven't had cravings for the first weeks, but the last 2 days are really like not bad. But I feel like getting hungry in the afternoon, and my go-to is always take a bite of butter, wait 2 minutes, and you know you're not hungry. You're either just thirsty or you just had something from your body responding, which you shouldn't react to too quickly. So that was a bit my journey going into that. Nowadays, when I tell people what to do, the best perfect way I think is to transfer slowly into that, to reduce the carbs if you're on a high carb diet, um, but be prepared for what's happening, right? So increase your fat, increase your protein, reduce the carbs, and try to avoid all processed sugars, and have some fruit, whatever you want at the beginning, and just fade them out slowly. Over also a very short period of time. I wouldn't do that too long because people recommend sometimes 30 to 60 days. I think that's too long. You also need to train your body to go into a different state of, or a different metabolic state than you are in when you are a sugar burning engine, more or less.
Gotcha. And when you changed to carnivore, did you notice any difference in your mental health?
Well, mental health, I don't know. Yeah, I had a massive difference on my mindset in general. So there is something happening that I would describe as silence in the head. That was probably one of the first learnings that I took along the journey. That I'm way more at peace with myself. I'm way more at peace with what's happening within me, and way more at peace what's going on in my brain. Creating a kind of silence at the beginning where I was afraid of, because it wasn't, when you eat sugar, and I think people who have never gone into a fat metabolism strictly don't really what that means. But when your sugar receptors are turning off in your gut and your brain, is your the silence it creates in your head can be a bit scary at the beginning, because it's not constantly processing. When you don't process, you don't process, and you're kind of in a very calm moment. And I think that was the biggest change for me. Also, then when doing my work now, doing my workouts, I can really switch off, focus on things in on a different way. I learned to sit quietly. I can sit on the beach now and relax myself. In the past, it was like after 30 minutes, I always had the feeling I need to move or do something. I think I'm just more relaxed as a person. I mean, if you push the right triggers on me, I'm still going to react on that one. However, is that the calmness that I have with myself now, I've never experienced, and I think probably not even since my childhood. So that is something that has really strongly come along. And I think the other way that everyone that experience who's really fat burning and fat adapted is when you wake up in the morning, is your body doesn't need those 2 hours to get ready and get into a rolling mode. It's like your brain is switched on when you open your eyes, and is fully receptive to everything that's happening around you, and that, which is probably one of the best benefits you get with the carnivore diet, is like to think more sharp, to process sharper, and to have less of these side noises going around on what you need to eat and what you need to do and what should be next. It's more staying a bit more here in the moment, in the here and now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've definitely experienced that. Like I used to hate getting up in the mornings. I'd have no energy. Just feel like okay, I need a coffee to wake up. But now it's like, yeah, you just wake up, you feel sharp, you have more energy, but also you feel that carnivore calm. You feel at peace with yourself, as you described. You feel at ease with the world.
Yeah, I think, and I mean, now educating myself further and further into the topic, and trying to understand a lot of of different things that are causing, because sugar is one element that is really disturbing our mental being. It's really disturbing the way we think. It has so much impact on the way on our organism is running. And when I talk sugar, I'm not talking about the white thing you put in the coffee with a spoon. I'm talking about old blood glucose spikes that you get, and which most people don't understand, is that eating fruit or honey or eating pasta or bread does basically do the same to your body than eating plain sugar, and you need to get away from that. So I think that is one thing that just came along the way, creating a really positive mindset as well. And I don't know, learn to, as you say, to be at peace with yourself. I mean, I was never happy with myself, to be honest, and not in a negative way. It was always, oh, you need to push this, which I'm still doing, but on a completely different mindset level. It's like, I'm happy. I'm so much more happy now when I'm alone as well, to be honest. It's like, I don't need this surrounding that constantly pushes something on me. Then on the other hand, I mean, you mentioned coffee. I just did a month without. I'm still drinking coffee. Then people always say I do it for the taste. Yes, I do it for the taste, but I also like the kick that coffee gives one still, um, which is probably the most non-carnivore thing you can do. However, I'm not triggering other receptors like oxalates or lectins a lot with coffee, so it's more. It also doesn't trigger any hunger feeling on me. So for me, it's more coffee. I'm a straight espresso drinker without anything else. It's just a black coffee. I know it's too much, but I just love it too much as well. So everyone has a kind of carnivore sin on the side, as I see the coffee machine at the background of you as well.
Yeah, like no one's perfect. I have tried cutting out coffee for 30 days. For me, I didn't notice any benefits. Like my strength in the gym wasn't quite where I wanted it to be, so I found adding it back in before a workout that works for me. But yeah, no one's perfect. Like you don't have to be a perfect carnivore
Yeah.
by any means.
I mean, I see on your account as well. You're quite physically active as well. You train hard in the gym, and I still get my morning workout done super early morning. Like today, it was like 5:30 or 6ish. Like, and I'm training hard. I'm training short but crisp, like 45 minutes to an hour, but really tough. And as you say, when I cut it out the coffee now for a month, I mean, the first 7 to 9 days are awful because the withdrawal symptoms are really bad. There's, I think, no bullshitting around on that one. You get a lot of headache and you have withdrawal if you stop coffee. But then after a while, there was no noticeable change on what's going to get better, rather than being probably even a bit more calm and not getting these cortisol spikes in the morning. However, now having gone back since a week now, is before my morning workout, if I have my double espresso, I just enjoy the workout so much more. It the kick is there from the very first second, and well, I think it's very debatable to have coffee or not. I would recommend people more to probably try without. However, I have taken a choice for myself. I cut the carbs, I cut the alcohol, I did everything, and not much I do miss. But then cutting out the coffee for me would be a level where I don't know. I think I miss one element which I really appreciate in the mornings, and I have a hard cut around 3 p.m. with coffee, so I'm not drinking later because then it starts impacting my sleep, and that's also not so good.
Definitely, yeah. It is kind of tough because yeah, I find cutting out coffee completely. Yeah, as you said, the energy wasn't quite the same in the gym, but yeah, apart from that, I didn't notice a huge change. But I find cutting out coffee after 10 a.m., my sleep is just so much better. Like I don't get any disrupted sleep. You're not kind of like tossing and turning all night.
No, exactly. I mean, my sleep has massively improved. However, specifically beginning of carnivore, when I mean, I'm 2 years almost in now, and I need to say there is still, I think the organism still hasn't fully adapted yet, to be honest, because there are still certain receptors that trigger. So if there's sweet taste, um, it triggers something in me still, even though there is no calories connected or something. So if you get some sweet taste, it is there, and not that I was addicted. But however, my sleep has changed, and I think what happened at the beginning was my sleep hasn't gone better quickly, because at the beginning, when your blood glucose starts dropping then fast at night, which triggers a cortisol response as well in the body, you wake up, and then I was awake at night. But then I'm also, I mean, one element I'm working a lot with is sleep. and I think I educated myself a lot about sleep. And what I had to learn the hard way as well is that you go into sleep rhythms, which are, these circles of 90 minutes connected to your circadian rhythm. And you always wake up after 90 minutes. And then it's more the question, what are you going to do with those breaks in between? It's like you go to the loo or not, or you start rolling around, or you just accept your fate that you just woke up quickly and fall back to sleep. Because if you do, you will have forgotten in the morning that you have been waking up. If you then start processing, which you do mostly on a sugar running brain, it's very hard to fall back to sleep again. So my sleep normally is quite okay. I have nights where the sleep is not okay, but then I also know what it has been triggered. It could be too much blue light in the evening. It could be wrong eating in the evening. It could be that I had a bit too much dairy the day before. There is a lot of factors that impact sleep, so it's not only the diet. So sleep is something to focus on, but this is also the least thing you can control, and that people have to understand. When you sleep bad, you sleep bad, and you need to identify what caused the bad sleep at the end.
Definitely, yeah. There's definitely a combination of factors and it's funny when you get into carnivore for a while, you really start to question everything that we're doing. Like as you said, the blue light before bed, having coffee too close to bedtime, staying up late, like all those things can be a factor. Like, yeah, I think getting into a routine is, probably the best thing to do.
Yeah, and then what you say is like you find out a lot of different things, because honestly, I naively started with just eating meat, and then it was pork and chicken and sausage and processed meat and dairy and cheese, and then you start to educate yourself, you start to read more, and then all of a sudden you are into circadian rhythms. You start discussing blue light. It's a bit opening Pandora's box, right? And there's so many aspects that are health related. I just also learned with the mental clarity that came that I'm processing information way better. That means like what I read stays with me specifically at night, and so I'm learning way faster. And I just start to love to educate myself. And I'm now on a level learning about plant toxins and what oxalates and lectins are doing to your body and how they are harming your body. And that is all evident based, scientifically based stuff that's available since sometimes even more than 5 centuries, right? But it has been kept down, and people don't even understand why they get sick and why they think they get aging and why they have joint pain and whatever they do. And once you understand what oxalates do to your body and what lectins do to your body, I think carnivore is just one element, but you could also try to live a lifestyle that's completely free of lectins and oxalates, and you would have similar effects on a carnivore diet. So if you don't want to go meat only or strict meat, there is a way to do it. It will be super hard because those lectins specifically is almost in every plant you eat, and our ancestors for sure they have been eating some tubers and stuff, and also had starch when there was not much meat available or the hunting did go well, but then it was very seasonal and was very connected to the location you have been growing up. But nowadays those people, they go to the supermarket and they just load on all the grains and flax seeds and to drink their green smoothies and have access to those high lectin plants and oxalate plants all week long, and eating a lot of almond and whatever, and just wrecking and havocing their system day by day. And what people don't understand is that these are things you build up in your body and they don't show when you eat them. Like a poison is understood by many humans. It takes decades to years to see the first symptoms. And when you see the first symptoms, it's almost too late to react. So, and this is what's causing cancer. This is what's causing heart disease. And there's way more studies around that causing heart diseases and cancer than there is red meat and saturated fats causing these diseases. So I think people are just misled on purpose over decades, and when you tell them now, it's like they all look at you like you're the stranger. But it's the same thing when you brought the fake pandemic, told everyone that probably getting a vaccine at the moment isn't the smartest thing to do because there is no pandemic. They all looked at you, and now 5-6 years later we see that there was a lot of fake news out there. with nutrition, it's even worse. That has been since newspapers are written and since communication is out there. It's manifested in people that they need to eat fiber, that they need to eat their plants, and you need to have the rainbow on your plate. What it has done, when you look at the studies since the 1960s, we have never been that sick as a society, and we have never been that obese and fat as a society as we are today. It's very simple.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I was thinking the other day, like we're not getting healthier. I think things are kind of getting worse in a way. Like so many people, they're struggling with their energy, and they're carrying too much body fat, and they're on their phones all the time. And it's like, yeah, it's like what's going on? It's like something out of the Matrix. It's like, and I think everyone, as you said, everyone has been misled. We've been taken down the garden path, and we've sort of been told that these plants are somehow magical superfoods and they're going to cure everything. And the
But
reality is they may be doing more harm than good. And unfortunately, people's
I
been
was on
brainwashed.
the same path, but I was on the same path when I started my coaching education on nutrition, right? It was over a US based company, which is highly funded by people like Dr. Michael Greger or whatever this vegan guru is. And all the books I got to read and prepare for these exams had been around his books. And it was like, you got to load on flax seeds in the morning. You got to have your smoothie. You need to drink your, what is it, curcuma flavored water, and and what they basically tell you is exactly what makes you sick. And when you then look at this guy who has written all these books, where he has a biceps and an arm like a 4-year-old boy, right? And then you look at people like Jeffy or Baker that are, without any doubt, looking like a masculine being should look like now. And you see what the difference is. You start realizing that there is something wrong in the matrix, and there is something wrong in what we are told to eat. And then when you start deeper looking on where the money comes from, you get even more worried, because there is a massive chain of industry behind that, and it goes back to all these Kellogg's and whatever. And I don't want to open that bucket too much, because I think people need to start educating themselves. And you are carnivore yourself. You know what the first questions are. If you say you eat meat only, it's like it's the same stupid or uneducated questions you constantly get. But where do you get your fiber from, or where did you get your vitamin C from, and how does that impact? And then you need to tell people that there is not one single study that has ever proven that fiber or carbohydrates are an essential nutrient to the human being. It's actually the opposite. There is studies that claim that eating fiber could positively impact your microbiome, or that you need a lot of vitamin C is, for me, one of these massive examples. You need vitamin C because it's an how do you say that right? Anti. No, I don't find the word. Pirate. It helps you to clean out, poisons of your blood, but that you only need in high amounts when you eat carbs, because it creates a lot of of problems in your body. And I think you need to put things into correlation, and I don't try to be carnivore priest, but I want to be very front facing to people and say, like, look, it's like whatever you learned, the first thing you need to unlearn is what you have learned. And if you're not going that path and you're not willing to get that path, don't come to me and tell me you're aging and you have joint pain. We are all aging, but I would have not thought 2 years ago that I can be in a physical condition as I am today ever again in my life. I thought this is never going to happen again, because you're just aging and you need to accept your fate. I work out for my workouts now in the morning. Like, without a doubt, I can go for a 20K run with not being running for 6 months, and I have not an issue finishing that. So it's just the human body is so much more resilient than we're told it is. However, we are told to eat or to consume a diet which is highly inflammatory, and that highly inflammatory diet is just, slowly killing us. And this is exactly where certain industries want us to be, right? To start consuming a medical care system that is just putting us on drugs, never finding the root cause of the symptoms, just dealing with the symptoms, and being prepared to stay alive, work as long as you can work, and then whatever, I mean, die as soon as possible, because you're just a burden to the social system if you stay longer. And it sounds harsh. Unfortunately, it is like this. So,
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I was talking to a friend about this the other day, and I was thinking, if you're carnivore, you can't really be marketed or sold anything, because you're essentially getting everything you need from, meat and eggs. Like, you don't need protein powder. You need to supplement with iron or B12 or omega 3s. You're getting everything you need from food, essentially. And I think there are people that are making profit off people's insecurities, so people in the supplement industry, in the pharmaceutical industry. Like, it sounds like a conspiracy, but it's not if you dig a little bit deeper into it and look at where the money's coming from.
no, exactly. And then from a nutrition perspective, unfortunately, and this is what bothers me a bit, is there is a lot of people out in that ancestral food and carnivore space today that also are sending a bit of a wrong signal today, because there's a lot of people that eat still processed meat as well. And I have no issue eating a sausage here and then, and doing something, but you need to be clear that this is not helping in the long run if you want to get the full benefits. And I think everyone needs to first understand on where am I from a metabolic state. And once I have figured out what causes the problems, you can add back everything you want. You can add back honey, you can add in certain vegetables, whatever, if you like. And if that doesn't harm you, then at least you know what the root cause is. But people are still a lot on processed meats, and then they start. When I started my journey, also, I need to put collagen into my food, and I need to, supplement with this and that. And the supplements are getting less and less. Now they get older and older in my cabinet, because they are not necessarily needed. I think the only thing I take when I worked on a deficit for myself now the last couple of weeks, because I'm turning 50 next week, and I was like, okay, now I want last time to do a super clean detox and see like if I go almost strict lion, which is only ruminant meat and eggs, which is not lion, I know, eggs, ruminant meat, and a bit of butter here and then, still being in a deficit mode, on how far can I go down, and it just feels great. However, if you deplete a lot of water and you deplete a lot of fat, there is always that electrolyte balance you need to keep in shape. If we would eat all organs, if we would eat everything from the animal, that wouldn't be a problem that we have. But nowadays, with the lean cuts we get and the meat we get, I'm really heavy on the salt side, so I try to really work with salt, and that works well from my electrolyte balance. But the other stuff, I do here and then use vitamin D as a supplement, just throughout the winter months. And that is more because there is a lot of other factors that deplete us from vitamin D processing in the body, like blue lights, like Wi-Fi, like other, radiation we are exposed to. So that it's not only food related. So in that sense, I supplement vitamin D, but also not consistently. And the rest is just a nice to have. But all protein powders, honestly, I wouldn't even go there any longer. There's no sense. Even creatine, I'm now on a point. I'm eating so much red meat. There's no necessity for me to put any creatine into my drink in the morning. So it's a glass of water, a bit of salt, and that's how far things go. And do I feel bad? No, I feel probably the best ever, right? And then I only get depressive when we have weeks of rain like this. But that everyone is having, not depressive in a sense like this. It's just, it also sucks on my energy when I need to do my workout and it's raining outside. But we are where we are. But do you supplement? But
I only take creatine just because I feel it does give me a bit more like the mental clarity, and definitely before a
and,
workout, I feel it definitely
yeah.
does help. But yeah, I used to have this most incredible supplement routine before I was carnivore. It was like I was taking all these different supplements, and I've got a 4-year-old son. He's watching me take all these supplements each morning. He said, "Oh, Papa, are you sick?" I said, "No, I'm not sick. I'm trying to be healthy." And like he
Yeah.
looked like I'm taking a lot of light pills, like I'm sick, but it's like it made me really kind of think, like, what am I actually doing? Like, are these supplements actually helping me? And I feel creatine, you do feel a benefit, but yeah, that's the only supplement that I take now.
And it's interesting you say that, because I when before I went carnivore, I had this full kitchen cabinet full of supplements. It was like all the vitamins and everything I I took, and as now in the aftermath, has it helped me? No, it has. I never felt anything more positive. However, when I did my blood works, they were just screwed up in all dimensions, right? And now I do my blood works, and I mean they're almost perfect in all dimensions, right? So I mean, now for sure the doctor tells me your cholesterol is too high, but that I take as praise, that I take as like a thanks, mate. You're telling me I'm on the right journey, because you have no fucking clue what you're talking about when you talk about cholesterol, right? And most of doctors, I just had this episode a couple of months where we need to do this health check for my work, right? And the doctor said, yeah, but you know, your cholesterol is high. And then I said, are you still one of these believing in cholesterol? So tell me why. And that doctor, young, very young doctor, he was so puzzled by that question that he started to just deviate to a completely different topic, because he had no answer for that. And I said, like, look, don't bring this up, because all you want to do is sell your statins at the end, right? And I mean, supplements is one thing. I think I supplement with meat, and this is why I eat a lot of eggs, because I think the best supplement you can do to your body is chicken and duck eggs. I had this experience last week. I got duck eggs, and this is a different ball game compared to chicken eggs. Is like how you know, do you feel after eating eggs from a duck, and I think the nutrient density that you get with that one is just crazy. And there's everything we need. It's all the essential amino acids that we need. You get from eggs, right? You get a lot of choline and other stuff that you wouldn't get from any plant-based diets. And it's very simple. If you eat organs, a bit of organs, that doesn't mean you need to eat liver every day. I do supplement a bit when I'm business traveling. So if I go long distance traveling or something where you don't have access to organs. So give an example, if I go to Asia, it's like I'm going to the Philippines, I wouldn't buy beef liver there from the next butcher and just eat it raw, right? For probably also hygiene reasons. And then it's good to have some, dried beef liver or beef heart or beef organs with you. But that is a different ballgame than just being reliant to that. And when you say your 4-year-old son is looking at you, are you sick? Is I think that's the best feedback you can get from a little child, right? It's like, why are you doing this to you? Why isn't your nutrition on spot?
Yeah, absolutely. It makes you really think about it, on a deeper level. And I think a lot of these supplement companies, I think in a way, it's a little bit like they're preying on our insecurities. It's like it's an insidious thing. It's like people are worried about their health, or we can make profit off of that. And you've really got to look at the bigger picture. Like the CEO of, like, say, Blackmores, he doesn't care about my health and my well-being. He's probably more concerned about his yacht and putting his kids through private school. It's like, yeah, people need to look at the bigger picture.
Yeah, I mean, it's a business stream as many other things, and there's nothing wrong with people making business. And the only reason why you can make business on these things nowadays is because people are purposely held uneducated. It's like people don't know what's done well. And if you read food guidelines today, and in whatever country you are, I think you're based in Australia, I'm in Portugal now, and been to Japan first. Everyone tells you what's so smart. But then when you look at how the healthcare system is, and how people in what condition people are, you see that no one is really healthy, right? And they can take whatever they do. And I always bring this example. I'm in a privileged situation because I've worked my way to be there, but I can live close to the ocean. I can go to the beach in summer, right? And I see what's happening on the beach. And when you look at people, it's like they don't look healthy. You can twist and turn it what you will. It has just become normal that people are chubby, that people are not looking healthy, that people in their 30s are almost unable to walk up from their beach towel and need almost help. And it has become just a norm in society. And I think that's the dangerous part. And now people are shamed for being fit. is another thing. Is like, oh, you're toxic masculine or whatever, or women get too muscular. Or I mean, if you look at videos from the 80s, or there weren't so many obese people, there weren't fat people or obese people, and what was called what's called chubby today would for certain be called fat in the 80s, right? So there is a change in perception as well with commercials, with what's happening. And the sad thing is that people tell themselves they feel okay, but they don't, right? They don't feel well in the bodies they are. And most of them have actually forgotten how good it feels to be in a good shape. And I'm not saying that everything is food related, but I would say like 95+% are dietary related, and there might be some genetic things and some other things that might hit people, but um, there's so much you can do, and you can control so much on what you put into your mouth. And you can go for immediate pleasure and have long-term sickness, or you just accept that a food with 17 spices is probably not what your body wanted. It's just it has developed over people eating food that has been rotten and had to make it taste well at one point, and try to trigger a dopamine trigger in your brain, which you don't need, because at the end we eat for nutrition and not for pleasure. And the vast majority of society is eating for pleasure. Whilst I eat my ground beef every day, which is a pure pleasure, um, some days I get hungry again, sometimes days I don't. But I think it's also training your brain in a different way. So there's so many things to talk about. It's just where do you start and where do you end?
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned the 80s before. It made me kind of think the movies that were coming out at that time, and movies with like actors like Sylvester Stallone and Arnold. It was like a whole generation of young men would have been inspired to start going to the gym and lifting weights. But now, in some ways, that's seen as like a negative thing, or you're narcissistic if you're lifting weights. But it's like it's what we've been marketed to, and it's like people's mindset has kind of shifted since then.
Yeah, and that's an interesting fact. I mean, for sure, when you go to the gym, you want to do something for your body, right? For me, it has become a habit to work out, and being training to work out, and not to look good. For sure, you want to look fit, right? But for me, it's just what it does to my head and my brain if I do sports, and I have to do sports because I just feel so much better, and I don't have that feeling at night. Now I haven't moved and I haven't really pushed my heart rate to a limit where it has to be at one point as a human being. But you're right. In the 80s, there was this this entire movie scene around people like Sylvester Stallone, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Dolph Lundgren, Jane Fonda, name them. Also on the women's side, where women and men had been fit, they looked lean, they weren't like Schwarzenegger's a different story. They weren't like highly, pumped up. Stallone is also a different story. But people were fit, right? And it was a kind of a mindset to stay fit. And nowadays it's completely the opposite. It's like people, oh, you're disciplined, you don't enjoy life. I mean, I hear people saying to me, oh, you wake up so early, you go to the gym, you don't enjoy life. And no one understands what my joy is, to be honest. And I can tell you, I had a lot of joy when I was drinking alcohol, and I don't regret the moment, and I don't regret the party I have been to, and the moment I had been drunk. Um, I regret more that I haven't learned earlier, because the joy you get with your immediate dopamine and the alcohol you drink has not at one single moment been a joy the next morning I woke up. It hasn't been. It has been a joy in that specific moment. You're drinking a glass of wine with your friends and you're having that bloody 15 slice of pizza, and oh, it's so good. No, it's not. The next morning it comes with regret, right? And and I think the entire society has been triggered to that. Look at commercial, look at what's sold in supermarkets. And it's not being a priest. I think everyone needs to take a journey, but what I hate at the moment is a bit that it has become the new normal. And what triggered that journey a lot to me, and I always get back to this, I was living in Japan at the moment when this entire COVID thing came out. And you probably have been to Australia, and you know how crazy people were. I mean, you couldn't go out, you were like locked in, people were forced to put masks on, they were afraid without a mask, they were afraid of people without masks. Those vaccinated ones were afraid of people not taking the vaccines. Whilst McDonald's had been open, and Krispy Kremes had been open, and Dunkin' Donuts has been fucking open, and Starbucks, And they took their masks down to eat their donuts. They took their mask down to eat their fast food. And no one is still afraid of eating the shit people are eating. Whilst there had been caused, a fear in people that we're all dangerous to each other, we can harm and kill each other. And that has just shown to me on how fragile people's minds are. You can, with whatever information, trigger something in them to cause fear, whilst they deliberately harm their health with food choices day by day, hour by hour. And that was a big trigger for me as well, to see on how far it really has come with society. It is still the best example for me. If you wear a mask because you're afraid you will die of a disease that's invisible, which hasn't killed that many people anyway, but you chunk down your donut that has been deep fried in seed oils that are a week old with 1,500 different ingredients. Honestly, that's closer to brain damage than one can be. It's that simple. It sounds harsh, but you need to tell people the truth, right? This is a bit metromanic style. Sometimes you need to tell people how stupid they are, and then it's up to them what they do with it or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Something you mentioned before about fat adaptation. I was curious
Yes.
about that. Do you know how long it takes for someone to become fat adapted on carnivore?
Well, for me, it has taken a couple of weeks, to be honest. I mean, I started at the age of 47 or 48 when I moved into carnivore, and what we shouldn't forget is, like, I was harming my body for 4 decades, like with a shitty diet from my late teens probably onwards, eating when I got into professional sports, loading high on carbs, then having a vegan phase where I was eating smoothies like an idiotic person, right? And chunking down, greens like crazy in a restaurant. So it takes, I think, for everyone, it takes a different time to get into the mode from being an engine that runs purely on glucose and sugar to become an engine that can produce the fat that you consume and the fat that's in your body to produce its own glucose and run fat adapted. For me, it has taken a couple of weeks, and I still realize the moment when I had the feeling I'm really getting to where I am, because your hunger signals just disappear all of a sudden, and you can stay way longer in a kind of state where you don't think about food. Um, I would say for me it was 3 to 6 weeks to feel the difference. I was experimenting last summer a bit with berries and honey. So I had been on vacation with my wife to Greece, and then we bought honey and was eating a bit of yogurt and honey. And what it does to me is, like, it's not about weight gain or something. It's like you eat it. I still like the taste. Um, honey is a great product, right? But what it does is, it, like, 2 hours later, triggers this feeling you need to eat something again, and then you need to eat something again. And this is what all sugar does to your body, and it doesn't help. And specifically honey being mostly fructose, right? It's even worse because it goes straight into liver and transforms into fat cells because it can't be, digested differently. And that's a body mechanism which is basically there to then later use the fat cells in a fat adapted mode to create glucose again and to create energy. When we worked through winters and the period of time where probably, starvation was a bit closer. However, today everyone loads constantly on carbs, so we constantly pile up on fat around our organs whilst we never use it, and this is just dangerous all the time. How long does it take? I can't give you a straightforward answer, but I think everyone has to find out themselves. And this, I think, is the hardest fight for everyone from a mental state, is getting from uh, a glucose burning mode purely, or sugar burning mode, into fat adaptation as a human body, which is probably the state we should all be in. And I take also newborns. A newborn baby that is breastfed by his mother is per definition constantly in ketosis. It's completely fat adapted, right? Whilst there's other hormones that build up fat around the body to make them survive. But then at one point, as soon as we start feeding those kids, we start feeding with potatoes and starch, and all of a sudden we change their metabolic state to something which will harm the rest of their lives. And we can always process carbs, and we have an enzyme to process carbs, but we have that enzyme to go through starvation when we don't have access to certain foods, which is, it's a survive instinct, but it's not the main source of energy. So I think people need to learn to go back to that state, because what's happening is when you don't eat sugar, you don't get cravings, and cravings are a bad thing, because people say, oh, I can't survive without a snack for a while, right? It's not because you're hungry, because you aren't. You will survive with the fat reserves you have for weeks. So it's what your gut and your microbiome tells your brain, and what your brain then triggers you to do. And I just read this interesting book. It's called the Plant Paradox, and the other one, which is called Toxic Superfoods. And it is a lot about this problem on what's triggered by your microbiome, right? So if your microbiome is running on sugar you eat, it will. So the microbiome basically has over your vagus nerve a direct connection to your brain, and it's not the brain telling your microbiome or your gut what to do. It's actually the opposite around. So if your gut is fucked up because it's running on bad bacteria running on sugar, you will constantly need to eat. And you got to break that cycle, and that people need to understand. So, but where to start, Todd, is like, I don't know. And you do work out yourself, and I think about it. I work with kettlebells and body weight only, right? I can hit a hard session with having been eating carbs for months. And I never get in this moment where I feel like I'm completely depleted because my glycogen, reserves are empty. It's happening, but when you're fat adapted, your body reacts so quickly to reproduce glucose that you can run a workout through. You can go for a hard, workout with high intensity heart rates up to 170 even on me. So, and when you look at people that go running with you that are running on sugar, so they need to have their banana before they run. And then I see people on 5 kilometer runs or 10 kilometer runs going for their sugary tail, because as soon as their glycogen, reserves are empty, they need to refeed constantly. And I'm not talking about someone who's Olympic runner. They can do whatever they want because those are athletes, but I talk about the vast majority of people. And the vast majority of people acts like all the Olympic athletes do, right? They take like they would do the Tour de France whilst they only go for a 3 kilometer run. So sugar is, and you can turn it in whatever way you want, probably the worst poison that a human ever exogenous has started to put into their bodies.
Yeah,
in that amount.
like I've got a background with like constant dieting and like sugar addiction, and I just find for me cutting out the sugar, the cravings do disappear over time. Like maybe once you get to that 14-day, 15-day sort of mark, I just feel, on carnivore, the hunger just sort of dropped by about 70%. So I'm only kind of eating 1 or 2 meals now, whereas before it was like 5 meals a day or 6 meals a day and snacks. It just becomes never ending. You can't get anything done if you're eating all the time.
No, and I think that's the danger, right? Because people just keep eating. I was the same. I was like, oh, you need to eat, and the snack here and the snack there, and I wouldn't call it. It was even worse than a sugar addiction, I think, and not a well-known addiction, because I could also eat like a 1.5 kg box of vanilla ice cream at night in front of the TV, and then I was still going to the fridge and looking for what's in there, and others are stronger mindly probably on that one when they deal with sugar, but there is this thing, it just triggers in your system. And I mean, if you think about sugar, what it does, and you think also around all the studies that are there, I mean, put rats on cocaine and sugar, and then let them choose what they go for. They will always go for the sugar, right? So it's a highly addictive drug. And I think the problem today is that people think that the sugar is the sugar they put into their coffee, but most people, fruits is one of the best examples for me. Fruit with the abundance of fruit we have and how people eat fruits today, is like one of the most insane things. If you go to a hotel and the breakfast buffet, on how they load up on their mangoes and papayas and whatever, and they keep eating like portions, which they would in wildlife as human beings never had access to, just at a very short period of time, wherever they're living on the planet. So I come from North Europe. What would have been the fruits we would have been eating? Apples. The apples that have been growing 150 years ago had nothing to do with an apple today. There was like almost no sugar content. It wasn't even you enjoyed it probably eating because there was a bit of sugar, but not as fun. What you see in the supermarkets today, apples like this and bananas and that side didn't even exist 50 years ago. And people load up on them, and I eat my avocado and papaya and whatever. Avocado is a different story, but papaya and ever, right? And the amount of sugar they load and what they harm their body with, on top what comes as anti-nutrients with the sugar, is you can't teach people unless they start trying to learn that themselves. And for me, it's I've taken a choice for myself, and I know how good it feels. I try to be a role model for that one also on what you can do on the journey, and I try to plant seeds in people, and then I have taken also a choice for myself is you can just show people what it does to you, and they either start thinking about them themselves or they just a victim and slave to a gut bacteria which is dictating their lives day in, day out. And if you prefer to be a slave and you prefer to be dictated by your microbiome, which is the one that's harming you at the end, it's also a safe journey, but don't judge people on that, right? As I can't judge people. I just get a bit fed up sometimes when they sit across of me and try to tell me what I'm doing wrong or what I'm missing in my diet. When you look at them and think like, what the fuck? Who are you telling me, right? Just take a look at the mirror, and it's not about if you're fat or not. It's like how sick you seem to be. Um, well, it has been a journey for me over 2 years, and I'm happy to be in that space, to be honest, because there is a lot of like-minded people that that think that, and everyone has a different way of expressing it. There's a lot of people that want to show off on how much fat they have lost, and on how much their body composition has changed. There's others that start supporting others on mental health issues. There's others that go into focus on skin issues, which is also a big drama in today's society. And then there's people like me, I think, which are more into I like to work out. I like to do my job, and I want to represent at least a part of a generation for the younger generation to see that there is no freaking need that at the age of 50, 60, you become a slave to your couch and eat constantly and just accept your fate being fat. There's so much more you can do with very little effort and just feeling better here, wherever that might be, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely. Stefan, what social media are you on? How can people get in touch with you?
What social media? Yeah, look, I started this Instagram journey almost simultaneously when I started Carnivore, because I thought like, fuck, this is doing so good to me. I want to just share what's happening there, right? And then join. So I'm mostly active on Instagram. It has been gotten a bit off now because at one point you can't follow everything that's happening there. Um, for me, it's important to trigger a bit of a kind of provocative element here and then. So that is mostly what I'm doing. For myself, I try to position myself more as a brand from a coaching perspective to work with people that are taking a deliberate choice to work on themselves after they have failed on other things, and not those ones that want to go on a I'm going on a 30 days crash course. No, those you stay wherever you are, do your 30 days of vegan or whatever, because you will never get there. I would like to work more with people, or working more with people that really take it, I should say, more to their heart, and probably see that there is becoming healthy is a lifestyle choice, and it's not a 30-day crash course. It's something you need to start up living, because you are in fact the biggest project one can run, and there's no legacy we're going to leave. There's nothing we can give to the next generation, and in 2 generations no one is going to remember us in whatsoever, but there is something we can do about ourselves, which is important. The social media, it's mostly Instagram. I just opened TikTok as well, but honestly this is just a copy of what's happening on Instagram, and that's pretty much it. But it's not about social media for me. For me, it's planting seeds in people's minds, and hopefully having some of these seeds blossoming up and helping someone to do better. Because if you take it frank and honest today, and you look at society, I think the most vulnerable persons out there are children at the moment. And if you see what parents are putting in their grocery carts, and then you know what they're going to feed their children back home, is like they put their children in a state where they have no way to escape and will have a health issue at one point and then have to learn it the hard way. So I think there is something we need to do in our society to make this better, because we talk about so much else what we can do in society, but if we have sick children, it's exactly what the system wants, right? It's just having people that work uh, eight 8 to 5 until they're 60 plus, and then make sure they're going to die as quickly because they're just a burden to the system, and keep that rolling. And there's no joy in life for many people being on the journey, and that is more my aim, to be honest, than being on social media. Social media is more a valve to reach people I wouldn't reach in a personal life, because there is a wide audience, and you're in the same space. You have a lot of people that follow, a lot of people that try to learn, and then you have a certain amount of vegan haters that try to convince you about different, having no scientific background and whatsoever, but jumping on everything, being very rude and aggressive. And I think the same for me when I was vegan. That's a part of a plant-based lifestyle, is that you are aggressive, that you can't hold your emotions, and that you are very emotional, because this is what those plant poisons are triggering in your brain pathways. And so don't be rude to vegans, just accept that they can't do better.
Yeah, definitely. I'll leave a link in the video description, and people can check out your social media and reach out to you that way. I 100% agree with what you said about being, being a role model and being, a good influence, a positive influence on people, and definitely, like I've noticed this with my son. He's watching what I'm eating, and I think sometimes actions speak louder than words. That's much more powerful that way.
I think it is, to be honest, because I mean, look, I'm in a space. I realize as soon as you tell people what to do, they will anyhow come again you with resistance. Then, unfortunately, with my personality, I'm more the person to tell people what I think they should do, and this sometimes is also triggering building up walls. But then I take it more from my perspective. It's better I have said it and don't need to question myself. Why didn't I say this? Rather than what the other person does with it. And with children specifically, I think for me, it's so good. I wouldn't tell my grandkids, which I have two of now, on what they need to eat, and everyone needs to take their own decision. I just realize when I see my grandson, they're living far away, and he will eat exactly what I eat without a doubt. It is from raw eggs to raw meat, right? And I also know from my daughter, as soon as I'm not there, he's also eating what they eat, and there's nothing wrong or right with that. It's just I think there is a better way of there is a stronger way convincing people by just being the role model. And for me, it's better to be the role model to whomever out there, and they follow my path, and I've made a win, unless I can convince someone about the opposite. And people that would like to work with me or work with me, I mean, they need to accept that you will be told if you do shit. It's that simple. And either you deal with that or you don't. But that's your choice at the end. But don't ask. This is a bit our society as well. Everyone expects that people around them are nice and comfort them in what they are doing. And that has become the last 10 years, I think, increasingly high. It's like, oh, it's okay. It's okay. It's like plus size models all of a sudden are the new thing, right? And no, you're not fat. You just enjoy life and blah, blah, blah. No, bro, you are fat. You have a fucking belly, right? And I think we need to have also an environment between friends, at least, specifically masculine friends, to tell each other that you're fat and you need to go to the gym, because we have a responsibility as strong men in society as well. It's not like accepting that you become a person that is just a weakling, because we have too many of weaklings as well in our society, and this is exactly why we are where we are. So be a role model, be good. I can send you my link also from I just created a homepage which gives access to all my coaching booking platform and everything. This is what I do, but I'm not doing that for followers. This is the most important. I don't care how many followers I have. I care on how many people I could influence with what I'm doing.
Awesome.
As you do. It's the same. You post a lot about the gym, which is how often do you work out, Todd?
So 3 days a week, so Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
I do something every day and not like hard workouts. Also, people need to understand, I think 3 days a week is more than enough for most of people. I just have a sports background. I just get mentally sick if I don't work out, right? So that's why I love to do some movement every day. But working out is important, and people always think they need to go to the gym or go running. No, take a walk, do some sit-ups, do some movement is enough already to do your body. And as I always preach on, right, you can never work out a bad diet. So start with controlling what's going between your lips, and then do a bit of walking, and you will be on a safe space already.
Definitely. Stefan, I want to be respectful of your time. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast today.
Thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure talking to you, Todd.
Thank you. You too.